Welcome back to the double leg. I am one half of your host, Ajad Picks, the other half of the show, the parlay, welcoming him in. And we are going to be talking some UFC news or MMA news here. We have had a lot happen in the past few days as far as call outs, fight announcements within the past week or two, and then the beef with Conor McGregor and Artem Lobov, the two friends, and it has gotten a little bit nasty. So
Yeah,
I guess to break it down a little bit, Artem Lobov is trying to sue Conor McGregor for the proper 12, saying he's came up with the idea. And just last night, Conor McGregor says he's calling out Artem to fight him at the SBG Concord, and that Artem has officially tried to sue him and his father for defamation, in addition to the other allegations. So wild stuff here, considering how close they were, and just it's never done with Conor McGregor. There's always some kind of drama.
yeah. I mean, with all that money's always going to come stuff like this. But I find it so hilarious the little Twitter voice memos he puts out now all the time. Like it's hilarious going through and just listening to him. And but no, man, it's weird because if you watch a lot of the highlights from Conor McGregor's trash talk or his time on The Ultimate Fighter, Artem is always in the mix with him. You know, those guys were not just friends. It seemed like they did everything together from training, fighting. And if you remember, whenever Conor got arrested for throwing the dolly through the bus and going after Khabib in Brooklyn, it was because Khabib had snatched up Artem and smacked him in the face the night before. So Conor kind of flew to the U.S. to back him up. So it's just crazy to see two guys that were that close at one time now beefing this hard. And it all comes down to money. It's crazy. Money does some crazy stuff to people, especially at the level that McGregor and I don't want to say Artem. I don't know how, what his financial situation is, but McGregor's is obviously pretty public. Hundreds of millions in the bank. And I think, friends are going to start turning on you when you have that kind of money.
Yeah, it's wild because Artem would never be a name that people would know if it was not for Conor McGregor. I mean,
Exactly.
Conor pulled a lot of strings for him to get any kind of opportunities in any realm of, MMA and even with the UFC. He did a lot for him. And who knows how true these stories are, these allegations, but I mean, considering the trajectory of Artem Lobov's, combat career, it wouldn't be out of the question that he's in some financial troubles and he kind of needs to make some money or get something back, and he's going through desperate measures. But Conor's not always the most honest man. We'll just say that.
Yeah.
Outspoken and who knows, but yeah, people always going to want a piece of the pie. But
yeah, well, here's the shitty thing about it. It's like, I mean, who even knows how or what even to what extent Artem was talking about this whole situation. He may have been asked about something in passing and a reporter took it and spun this thing out of control. And next thing Conor's talking shit. And then Artem, is pissed off and says, all right, screw it. If we want to go there, let's do it. And, these are two guys that fought in the UFC. One of them, the biggest mixed martial arts star ever. I mean, two guys with massive egos, right? And you hear one calling each other out. And then it just escalates from there. And like I said, it kind of sucks because they were boys. And Artem was, I don't know, dare I say average fighter, but, his career in the UFC was just up and down, basically 500. He never did anything special. He always put on a show. I mean, he came to fight, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't for McGregor, I don't think we would have seen Artem in the UFC half as long as he was. So I don't know, man. Crazy though. It's like I said earlier, it's crazy what money will do to somebody. And if he is telling the truth, I also heard that McGregor offered him $1 million at the beginning of the whole thing to be a part of it, or for helping him get into the whiskey or give him that idea. And Artem turned it down. So now it's like, if it is true, he sees McGregor has all this money and thinks, well, shit, I'm going to go get mine. But I don't know. I think we're going to see some more stuff come out in the news about what really is going on or what's true and what's false. But at the end of the day, you just don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be hearing more from Conor McGregor moving forward. But I haven't really seen a lot of stuff from Artem, and it's kind of like been behind the scenes for Artem's side. But Conor will always be public. Well, we know that. Speaking of public, Alex Pereira, I guess People will always be
careful now. People are going to come for you if you don't say the name right.
I think it's Alex Pereira. I think that's how you say it. But yeah, we'll just call him Alex. Said on the MMA Hour that he kind of challenged Chimaev to a fight at 205, considering Chimaev wants the 185 belt, but he does have the big weight cut, and he didn't really think he would be able to make it for UFC Rio 283 in January of 2023. So he said 205, and supposedly Chimaev turned that one down. So can't blame him for turning that down, considering how big Alex is. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily Khamzat, turning down the opportunity to fight him. I'm guessing Alex wanted it at 205 because, like you said, the weight cut, and Khamzat probably countered with, no, let's fight at 185 because I want your belt. And then, maybe Alex's camp turned that into, oh, he's scared to fight us. He declined the fight in general. And then, news stories come out and this and that. But at the end of the day, here's my thing on stuff like this. I don't think there's any fighter, especially in the top 10 to 15 in the UFC, whatever division, that is scared of anybody else in their division. And these guys are all trained killers. I don't think they're scared of anybody. I think it all boils down to, opportunity and money. But yeah. I definitely don't think Khamzat is scared of Alex. I don't think Alex is scared of Khamzat or anybody. I mean, those are two savage dudes at the top of their game right now. And I think that fight happens eventually, though. I don't know. Do you think those two get in the octagon, whether it's 185 or if Khamzat decides to bulk up and go up a weight class in the future?
Yeah, I think it does. Really, it's just going to come down to if Alex is going to stay in it, because he's kind of talked about just wanting to go in and beat Izzy, and who knows how long he's going to be around. But yeah, going back to that, it's like you can't really blame him. Because if you want to fight a guy, who knows what Khamzat walks around at? It might not even be 205. So that would have been significantly outsized. But if you're gonna fight, a guy who's holding a belt, you probably want to fight him under the best circumstances, not like giving him more weight. And he's coming off a win, like. I don't know. You can't blame him for not taking it. And like you said, it almost seems like whoever comes out with the news first, that's like the truth of it. It's like, Alex came out with the news first and Chimaev kind of clapped back. So people are always going to be like, okay, well, he's just trying to defend himself. He's automatically put in that defensive position. So yeah. I would love to see it. I don't know that. Alex is just so big.
He is a big dude.
So big.
Yeah.
I would like to see them like face off to see the size difference. Because I mean, Khamzat has fought at 170 like a few times.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get pretty small.
Yeah.
And Alex makes that weight by the skin of his teeth.
Right.
But yeah, I would like to see them side by side and just see how they look. You look at Alex compared to Glover, and it's like Alex is bigger. He's bigger.
Yeah.
Glover's just got a little bit more thickness to him, but
and Khamzat fighting him at 205, really, if you think about it, doesn't make any sense at all. So I'm not surprised he did, turn it down, because if you go and you lose to Alex at 205 and it's not for the belt, it's kind of meaningless. And then you've already lost to him, so it's even harder to get that fight at 185 going forward. So, if there's nothing on the line for Khamzat, he's got other interesting opportunities. I mean, the Colby fight's out there that makes a ton of money. If he beats Colby, Alex beats Izzy again, maybe then you talk for the title and give them each, 4 or 5 months to train and have a full camp and fight each other at 185. But either way, when that fight happens, I think this is just kind of the beginning of the story of Khamzat and Alex. I think it's a massive fight here in the next 2 years, inside the next 2 years, if Alex stays. But it is massive.
Yeah, it's a fight that didn't really make sense as of right now, considering the circumstances, to like try to push it that close and everything like that. But yeah, speaking of fights that don't really make sense, Gilbert Burns and Neil Magny. Now, a weird one. Like, just a weird spot for Gilbert Burns here, but a great opportunity for Neil Magny. Gilbert took the fight with Khamzat, which didn't really make a lot of sense for him, but just decided to do it. And I think ultimately boosted his stock. So
yeah,
made the most of it. But I don't think he's going to get that kind of stock raise here fighting Neil Magny.
I agree.
What do you think about it? I mean, as far as an early lean or anything like that?
I think, wherever the fight goes, I think Burns is the better fighter. On the ground, Magny's really solid, but Burns is just one of those guys that's, highest of levels in the UFC for jiu-jitsu and grappling. On the feet, Magny's going to be longer. He's going to be, a taller guy, bigger reach. But Burns is just so game. And I think that's why he took the fight. I think it's because everybody else right now is kind of on hold. Jorge's not doing anything for a while probably. Colby is not going to go fight Burns right now. You got beat by Kamaru. He's going to fight Leon next. Leon's obviously vice versa. He's going to fight Kamaru probably next. So there's really nothing else out there for him right now, unless, guys like Bilal and that. But I don't know. Burns needs to get a win. So I'm guessing that's probably why he took this fight. It's like, let's get in the win column. You lost to Kamaru and you lost to Khamzat. Let's beat Neil Magny, and then let's go fight another guy in the top, 7 or 8. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting when it came out. I just didn't, I guess, see that one coming. I wasn't really thinking of what Burns was going to do next, and I sure as hell didn't think it'd be Neil Magny. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is going to be in Brazil, so maybe he just, kind of wanted to get on that card as well.
Yeah.
And like you said, get a win. I'm interested to see what the odds come out at, because I would think Burns is going to be a pretty heavy favorite in that one.
Yeah.
But if Khamzat, if he can hang with Khamzat on the ground, like Magny's, I don't see Magny giving him problems on the ground, and on the feet, like Gilbert is world class as well.
Oh yeah.
Neil Magny is solid, but I would give the edge to Burns in that one too. So yeah. Early lean Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
Yeah. Another fight announcement. We got cousin Umar Nurmagomedov and Raoni Barcelos. So cousin Umar putting his undefeated record on the line there. I think he probably gets it done as well.
Oh yeah.
Just because he's cousin Umar, and the number one rule in UFC betting, you don't bet against a Nurmagomedov. So
100%. Dude, he's the one out of, between him, Khabib, Usman. He kind of flies under the radar because he hasn't been around as long as guys like obviously Khabib, and then his cousin Usman, who was it'd be Umar's brother, Usman, right? And then I think those two are brothers, and then they're Khabib's cousin. But anyways, he's the champ now in Bellator, and then you got Umar just kind of climbing the ranks right now. But what he does to guys in there is just he suffocates people. He's got that Khabib style, and he's got that Dagestani wrestling in him. Obviously, super tough, super durable, and it's just a guy. It's inevitable. He's going to be in the top 5 here in the next however long. But just a guy that's going to be up there. His wrestling skills are superior to most everybody in the division.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I think it'd be fun to watch him and a guy like Merab Dvalishvili face off and just see what the hell happens. I think that's a great test to really showcase the world where your wrestling is at right now.
Yeah, very talented on the feet as well.
Oh yeah.
Barcelos, capable everywhere. Got the win in his last fight out to Trevin Jones, and then 2 losses before that. But a veteran of the sort. I'm looking at that fight card right now. That's January 14th of 2023. And it's at the Apex, which sucks.
Yeah, that does suck.
But that's a pretty good card as well. You got Shavkat Rakhmonov and Jeff Neal facing off in the co-main there, and Kelvin Gastelum and Nasruddin Imavov in the main event. So some pretty good fights on that one.
For sure.
It's a bummer that it's at the Apex. Like,
yeah,
I think they want to put those names kind of more on display. But
yeah, speaking of the Apex, like what? I don't know. Have you heard anything about the UFC's plans going forward with fight nights, getting back to fans every weekend in Vegas? Or because, dude, honestly, it's hard to remember a time where every Saturday it was just a fan-filled arena, no matter if it was a fight night or pay-per-view. You know, it's just like we've gotten so accustomed to these Apex cards with no fans. And thank God this weekend's in Orlando, and it's going to be a jam-packed house. But it's hard to remember a time when every weekend was like that. And fans in MMA take it so far. I mean, it takes the energy, the vibes, the atmosphere just goes from 0 to 100. And I think the fans play a huge role in the fights and in the entertainment aspect. So hopefully the UFC gets back to having fans every weekend.
Yeah, that'd be great. It almost makes me think like, for some reason, I would think originally like they're losing money because they're not having fans, but then I'm like, well, they're not having fans for a reason. So it's like maybe they would lose money if they, bought out these arenas and sold tickets. But every live event that they do, it seems like they say it's a sold out arena. So maybe there's that like limited factor to it that they like, where it's like, okay, there's only one live show a month and we want to just sell it out, and instead of just watering it down with live events, 3 or 4 live events a month. So I don't know. That's something interesting to me. So.
I think part of it could be too just Dana and the UFC want to be as cautious as they possibly can. Because when COVID hit, they were the only sport that just trucked on through it. They just kept marching. And so they had a ton of eyes on them, ton of scrutiny. So I think they're really just taking this thing slow and making sure they don't, have any big mess ups or cause a huge outbreak. And then, everything they worked for during COVID to keep the show running is now getting a bad name. So, yeah, I'm guessing Dana's just not in any kind of rush to get back to that until, the coast is completely clear, I guess. I don't know. But hopefully soon.
Weird. Or he's just working a lot on that slap fighting.
Yeah. God.
But we can 100% say for certain the fight with Jon Jones will have live people in the crowd. The leak, well, I guess not a leak, but the announcement that Jon Jones and possibly Francis Ngannou will be for early of next year, 2023. Could be Cyril Gane instead if Ngannou's knee can't go, but it sounds like we're going to be seeing Jon Jones. But cross your fingers, because who knows for certain? We've been told that for a while. What do you think about that one?
Dude, it's so disappointing because you got the guy that everybody agrees, regardless of steroids and all the stuff he's been in trouble for, that he is the GOAT of MMA. I mean, the best fighter to ever step into the octagon. And it feels like we've been robbed of his prime years. And, I don't necessarily know if you can even consider him in his prime anymore. And we didn't really get to see him fight all that much in his prime years. I mean, he started in the UFC, the youngest champ ever. His mid-20s, he just dominated. And then, we're going through this streak where we see Jon Jones every 2 years, and then something happens, or, he's moving up to heavyweight and can't get an opponent for a while. And who knows what's really going on behind the scenes. But I don't know. It just feels like we've been robbed of Jon Jones's, second half of his career. And it sucks because he is fun to watch. He's, super technical with the wrestling, the striking. I mean, he's the GOAT for a reason. So if he returns and he does fight Ngannou, it's super interesting. I saw right now that Jon Jones is like the plus 130 underdog against Ngannou.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They had Ngannou at minus 150 and Jon Jones plus 130, which is crazy to me considering Jon has never lost. And, Ngannou is just a big, huge power puncher who showed he had a little bit of wrestling against Cyril Gane. But, man, let's be honest. Jon Jones compared to Cyril Gane in the wrestling department is not really close. So I'm surprised. I was very shocked to see that.
Yeah, I could see them being like, okay, he's been off for a long time. He's moving up a weight class. Go with the champion. But the champion's coming off from a long layoff and a knee surgery. Right. So it's weird because of those circumstances as well. So Jon Jones at plus money.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty tempting to me.
Yeah, can't say that too often.
Yeah, you really can't. I don't know. Has he ever been an underdog? Jeez.
I doubt it. I mean, unless his UFC debut. I mean, other than that, I doubt it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd rather see Ngannou or Gane, because both styles would be exciting to see against Jon Jones. I'm interested to see how he looks, at heavyweight too. If he stacks up and if, he has any problems just fighting a bigger guy, because usually, the bigger guy at light heavyweight, unless it's like Gustafsson, who's like, similar in size, but it's a little bit different when it's Cyril Gane, 6'5", can move like you do and everything, the range and everything like that. Like I'm just excited about it. I hope we get. I'm really crossing my fingers to get that fight, because it's been so long since
it's been
in there.
It's been a long time.
Well, the UFC 282 change. Speaking of the light heavyweights, big news for the UFC 282 main event: Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira is off. Yuri Prochazka with the shoulder injury has to pull out. Glover is offered the fight against Magomed Ankalaev. He says, "I'll fight Jan Blachowicz instead because he's fought him before." Magomed, a lot different of an opponent, and the UFC says not going to do that.
Yeah.
And basically Glover has to say, "All right, I can't take the fight." And so we're going to get Magomed Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz for the vacant title. Weird, kind of a disappointing sequence as far. I mean, it's still a good fight, but it's like, you're getting the 3 and 4 in the light heavyweight instead of the 1 and 2.
Right.
A little disappointing in that realm, and then you lose a good fight on the main card. So
exactly,
that's kind of the big part to me. It's like, okay, one less good fight on a pay-per-view. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it sucks because, we've seen Glover and Yuri Prochazka fight before, and it was one of the best fights of the year, if not in the last couple of years. I mean, it's an all-out war. So you know what we're going to get with that one. I think putting that in the main event for the belt, the rematch, Glover being 42, it's a great storyline, and everybody was looking forward to it, and now it's pulled off the card. And I mean, like you said, Jan and Magomed Ankalaev, it's a good fight. It's just not Glover and Yuri. Which sucks, but thankfully the rest of the card, we got some big names on there. We got some stuff. We got the Raul Rosas Jr. debut on that card. You got Paddy the Baddie on the card. So it'll still be a good card, but man, that main event was really, a big selling point for the UFC just because of the war we saw between the two already. So it does suck. And it sucks that, Glover wanted Jan. Like you said, he's fought him before already. He's seen him. He's trained for him once. But, Magomed's such a monster. I don't blame Glover at being 42, 43 years old, wanting a little bit more time for a guy like that. Interesting, though, that the UFC basically said, nope, sorry. I understand, though, honestly, because, I mean, the UFC's got to go on. They've got to keep some kind of big fight on that card for the main event.
Yeah.
But Glover, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did fight Yuri if the fight went on. And if he lost, then he retired because he is so old. And if he beat Yuri, I mean, maybe retire the champ. So I'm sure it sucks for Glover because he really wanted that one back. But yeah, I guess, Magomed and Jan, and we'll live with it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Glover offered to fight Magomed at UFC 283.
Yeah.
For the title. But they were like, we kind of need a title a title shot on the UFC 282. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, just tough luck for Glover, man. I mean, his days are limited in the combat sports.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to get that tough break, I think it probably would have been his last fight, win or lose.
Agree.
And my mind would say Yuri Prochazka goes out there and kind of puts it on him.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest, but I wouldn't have liked to see that. My heart would want, a battle like the first fight, but in my opinion, Yuri Prochazka's a lot more talented and just has a lot more at the like a lot more skill right now, and abilities right now compared to Glover in his career. So for it to be the second fight, I think Yuri Prochazka would have put it on him.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think Yuri too. He's the type of guy to me that if I fought you once and I beat you and we rematch, there's no chance you're going to do anything that second fight because he's such a he's so good in there, and he probably reads. I mean, you could tell he started to read Glover really, really well going on later in the fight. So if he saw him for 5 rounds that first fight, this second one, he's going to have the game plan. He's going to have the skills to basically do what he wants. So I agree. I think it might not have been great for Glover, especially with Glover's age.
Yeah, I think Yuri made so many mistakes in that first fight that opened the door for Glover, and Glover fought so soundly until the last minute when he, kind of gassed out and gave up the neck. And he said he had a bad weight cut too. So I don't know, that'd be a little concerning.
And I mean, at the end of the day, Yuri, that was only Yuri's 3rd fight in the UFC.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
He is still learning, and he'd never been in that big spotlight situation like that before. So he probably did fight a little bit different. You got nerves. The bright lights are on. I think it was a huge learning experience for Yuri, and I think even though he, most guys learn a lot from losses, that's a fight that I think Yuri learned a ton about, even coming out as a winner. So Yuri's going to be scary when he gets back from that nasty injury.
Yeah, that was my exact thought process going into that fight and I took Glover as the underdog just because it's Yuri's first fight in a live arena in a main event title fight. Like, there's going to be some, nerves and some mistakes made, and I thought Glover would be able to capitalize and sub him, but he didn't, and would have won the fight, but he didn't, and I lost my bet. So I'm pissed.
He was close.
Yeah. So UFC 282 is what, 2 weeks, almost a week?
Yeah, week and a half.
So yeah, we're looking forward to that one. UFC Orlando for you this weekend. You're leaving tomorrow night.
Flying out tomorrow.
Got anything planned before that? You gonna go to the weigh-ins Friday or anything?
So I'm waiting to see. I still haven't seen any tickets on sale for it or what the deal is. I don't know if it's open to the public. I know, the pay-per-views always are, but sometimes the fight night ones are, sometimes they're not. So, gonna look into it. If they're open, I'm definitely gonna be there. Other than that, man, just gonna be down there in Orlando filming content, and then I'll be at the fights. I'll be the first one in the arena. I promise. I'm already pumped for it.
Yeah, I when I went back in March at UFC Columbus, I got there like an hour before they even opened the doors, and I had to stand out in the cold. I was a little all right, I didn't need to be this early, but
yeah.
I got in there right when the doors opened, and yeah, it's a great time. I'm jealous you're going to be there, but have a great time.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
For our picks, well, I know for my picks, UFC Orlando at Hajai Picks on all the medias, at the double leg on all the medias as well. If you're watching here on YouTube, please leave a subscription, a comment, and a like down below. Where can they find you?
TikTok at The Parlay, Instagram, The Parlay_media, YouTube, The Parlay MMA, and then on Twitter, The Parlay MMA as well.
All right. For all your UFC news and UFC picks, this is the double leg. We are signing out.